All right, good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us for we will start the regular village board meeting, but first, I do have to have a public hearing regarding an appropriations ordinance. And with that, I will open the public hearing regarding the annual 2026-2027 annual appropriations ordinance. Is there any comments regarding the appropriations ordinance? All right, seeing none, I can take a motion that closed that public hearing regarding the appropriations.
So moved.
Motion by trustee Amos.
Second.
Second by trustee Chapman. All in favor to close the public hearing?
Aye.
All right, public hearing is closed. With that, we will move into this evening's agenda of the village board, Village of Shorewood, June 9th, 2026. With that, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A lot of roll call, please.
Mayor DeBold.
Here.
Trustees Amos.
Here.
Babiak. Here. Brockman.
Here.
Chapman.
Here.
Luciano.
Here.
And Selfridge.
Here.
All right, everybody is here. With that, we will move into the citizen section for the village board meeting. Let me clarify a couple of things, 'cause I know we have a few people that want to make public comment tonight. First and foremost, I thank everybody for coming out to the village board meeting tonight. Citizen comments are always recognized by the village board and always taken into consideration. With that, as a reminder, each person is given their 3 minutes of public comment as noted in the agenda. Each person will be given that time. You may only speak one time. You are not permitted to give your time to others. This is a public comment period. It's your opportunity to present your views to the village board. The village board does not accept questions or engage in debate during public comment. And I do understand that many of you here tonight may have comments regarding the application of the AR Building Company with respect to a proposed multifamily development on Black Road. I do ask that we try not to make repetitive comments. If you hear somebody go up and speak, you don't necessarily have to make all the repetitive comments. You can simply acknowledge, you refer to whomever made a comment or you support or against the project. Noted comments will be recognized. Later in the agenda, after we are done with public comment, later in the agenda, village staff and the developer will make a presentation to the board concerning said project. Village board members will then have the opportunity to ask questions of staff and the developer to provide comments, if they so choose. At that point, if there's no further discussion or dialogue regarding that presentation of that project, the board has 3 options. They can vote to deny the application, they can vote to waive the second read or approve the project, or they can leave it sit to proceed at a second read at a future board meeting. So with that, those are the ground rules. As ordinance, we want to make sure everybody has a fair chance and everybody has an opportunity to speak during public comment. With that, I will open up public comment. Would you please approach the podium? I do ask that you state your name for the record. Public comment is open.
Hello, good evening. My name is Nora Gruenberg, and I serve as the Government Affairs Director for the Three Rivers Association of Realtors. Our 750-plus members work with buyers, sellers, renters, employers, and families throughout Will County, and I am here tonight in support of multifamily housing. We all know that we are in the midst of a housing crisis, a crisis of both availability and affordability. And while it is not my role to support any particular development, it is my responsibility to advocate for policies that increase housing diversity, because housing diversity is the only long-term solution to this housing crisis. Every day, Realtor members hear from nurses, teachers, first responders, young professionals, skilled trades workers, and seniors who want to live in communities like Shorewood. The demand is growing, but the supply cannot match the demand. And it is a constant refrain that young residents are forced to choose between leaving the community or continuing to live with their families because they can't afford to live in their own community. Did you know that Will County is losing almost 1,000 residents between 18 and 35 every year because there is simply not enough suitable housing options for them? The more communities develop housing diversity at every price point, the sooner these young people can become truly independent. Multifamily housing proposals almost always face the same concerns: traffic, schools, property values, and community character. And those concerns deserve consideration. I think that Shorewood's officials and staff have clearly spent significant time evaluating these concerns, but we need to consider the facts. Multifamily housing typically generates fewer school-aged children than traditional single-family subdivisions, while contributing property tax revenues that supports local services and infrastructure. Many future residents already work in the region and are commuting from further away because they cannot find housing near their jobs. Providing housing closer to employment centers supports both workers and employers. The question before us is not whether these people should exist, because we know that they do. The question is whether Shorewood will create housing opportunities for them or force them to look elsewhere. Supporting housing diversity is not about changing the character of Shorewood. It's about ensuring that people who teach our children, protect our neighborhoods, care for loved ones, staff our businesses, and even those who grew up here have the opportunity to live here. We often hear concerns about what multifamily housing might bring to a community, but we should also consider what refusing housing diversity brings: higher costs, longer commutes, workforce shortages, and more of our own children leaving the communities where they were raised because they cannot find a place that they can afford. If we want our workforce and our young families and our seniors and future generations to have a place in Shorewood's future, we have to provide housing opportunities that meet a variety of needs. So thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you.
My name is Betty Capista, and I live on River Crossing, and I've lived in the village for 30 years. I'm opposed to the apartments and especially opposed to them at that location. My reasons are the traffic, the congestion will already add to a difficult problem right now with lining up and everything we've talked about at the planning meeting. Secondly, it's a 150-unit complex. The lot is way too small, the complex is too big, and it's in the wrong location. Most assuredly, it's at the wrong location. And a complex of that sort with up to 300 people and cars does not have enough parking, and there's only one way in and one way out, and I don't know how that can meet any codes. Also, the swimming pool at the front of the buildings has got to be a security and a safety issue. It's visible, it's open, it's on a high visibility road. It's gotta be a problem. I recently, this week, got a letter from the school district telling us about overcrowding of schools and how it's impacting, and a referendum is probably around the corner. But yet at the planning meeting, we were told that the schools didn't have one problem in the world with a 150-unit apartment complex going in. So I question that. Also, why do we need more apartments? We've already got 100 going in right here at the village center. Isn't that enough to present diversity and opportunity? I'm questioning whether some of these wonderful grants Shorewood is getting for parks and bridges and projects, is there something we don't know as citizens? Do we have to meet some requirement in order to get these grants, and therefore we have to have apartments, we have to have some of these things? That's just my question, because it makes me suspicious what's behind the need for so many apartments. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address the board?
Good evening, my name is Dave Blasky. I live in Edgewater, what we call Edgewater South on Northgate Lane, nearby where this apartment complex is planned to go in. The traffic in that area, while it has been mentioned, the amount of it is just, it's, right now, you have to sit through a minimum of 3 cycles of the lights on Black Road on school days or at early in the morning or in the afternoon. The traffic on Black Road, my house backs up to Black Road, River Road. The traffic on River Road backs up over a block going northbound in the afternoon. That's the traffic that is currently there. Now, I haven't heard what the traffic study is or if there was even one done. Information I can find for a unit that size will see 1,000 movements of vehicles in a 24-hour period. That's all the cars for the people that live there. You got Amazon that's gonna be delivering 150 packages a day in there, school buses, DoorDash. Our emergency services will have added calls to that area. That size complex brings about 3 to 5 a week in calls for emergency services. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it just keeps adding more and more. The biggest thing there is the traffic. It's gonna affect the people in my subdivision. I am the president of the HOA there. We already can't get in or get out of our subdivision 7 o'clock in the morning or trying to get home at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I urge you to vote no. Give consideration to the residents of the village that have put you in those seats and think about the just the quality of life that it's already deteriorating with the amount of traffic that we're seeing. So I really urge you to think about the quality of life for your current residents. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Michael Dwyer. I live in River Crossing. I wanted to come and address the board because for the last 5 to 7 years, I've been talking about getting speed bumps put in the village. Constant no, constant no. In fact, I was here back in April asking about it, and now I understand we have 5 on Burton Avenue for various reasons, and we did a study and all that. I believe the speed bumps are a good thing. I've been asking to get some over by where I live on States Lane because we've got a walking path, we've got the park going in there. As soon as the Sile Road project comes to an end where you can get through Sile, the flood of traffic through States Lane is gonna increase. And then you get all the rest of these expansions going down on Sile Road where you got housing going in. So again, I believe speed bumps are a positive thing. I know you guys are trying them right now, and what I'm hoping for is to get some on in my area because of all the traffic that goes down States Lane as they cut through to try to beat the rest of the traffic. Thank you.
Good evening to the board and staff. You know, I spoke at the planning commission and so I won't get into that again, the single ingress, egress traffic. I won't get into all that. We'll do something a little different tonight. I work for union contractors and trade, so tonight I'll take off my Shorewood resident hat and I'll put on my union hat. I checked with a bunch of our task force guys from up north. This company, AR Building, up in Gurnee and Round Lake Beach, did not include any union on their projects. And maybe that's okay in Gurnee and Round Lake Beach. Will County, it's not a good thing. I don't know, you know, how soon there'll be labor disputes out there if you guys pass this, but I can tell you there will be. And you think traffic's a mess on Black Road now. Wait till there's rats all up and down. And if you look through the crowd, you can see a lot of union guys are in the room, and we are holding them signs that say no AR. It's not that we're against apartments, but we are against this builder. We urge you to vote no.
Paul and Lauren Weinhofen from 627 K-Crest, the amount of traffic you have coming down K-Crest, because they're avoiding your lights now, is ridiculous. We can't even walk our dogs down the street anymore. They're cutting down K-Crest and heading over to 59 and make a right turn. And I don't see how this is gonna help the situation any other than exasperate it. Not against apartments, but 150, that's a lot for that area. If it was half the size, wouldn't be complaining, but that's an awful lot. And their history of not using union help is pretty prevalent, so that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Pat Young, business representative with the Operating Engineers Local 150. It's not often I come and speak against projects, but this one deserves being spoke out against. Developers refuse to talk to us, which is not a good sign. The Operating Engineers, 23,000 members strong, good portion of them live here in Shorewood. I urge you to vote no for this project. Thank you.
Anybody else?
My name is Jean Marie Santiago, and I live in the Rollingwood subdivision, which is right off of Black Road. And I am a mother of 2 kids. And like everyone else said, the traffic is horrible. The schools are getting overcrowded. My kids are in high school, and it is insanely crowded there. I also used to live in the south side of Chicago, and with the congestion, I moved to Shorewood to get away from the congestion. So if an apartment building goes up, I'm afraid that it's going to get congested again. So I actually asked you to deny this project.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I am a resident of Shorewood.
Can you state your name for the record, please?
My name is Lauren Weihofen, Weihofen. The one thing I wanted to bring up, I know traffic was brought up. We live right by the nursing home and by the senior center. And there are ambulance and fire trucks already waiting, trying to get out. I can't imagine what could happen if those people can't get out in time. That's all. Thank you.
Petition.
Please pass it to the clerk.
Almost 500 signatures. Good evening. My name is Joshua Rourke. I'm a resident of Shorewood. Been one my whole life, probably longer than the people that are in support of the building. I'm staying here tonight alongside my neighbors to make one thing perfectly clear. We don't want this apartment complex. The citizens of Shorewood have spoken. That's evident with the turnout tonight, as well as the number of signatures on the petition I presented you guys. But I'm not going to talk about frustration. Plenty have and plenty will continue, and I agree with them all. I'm here to talk about the rules. We're told the zoning laws exist to prevent the character of our community. Yet the proposal before you doesn't just ask for a small favor. It asks you to systematically bend, break, and rewrite the fundamental protections in our village code just to accommodate a single developer. Let's look at the facts, because I did. First, building height. Section 10(6)(c)(3)(a), the maximum allowed height for any building or structure in the B3 General Commercial District, which includes multifamily apartment complexes, is 40 feet. Yet AR Building Company is proposing a 4-story multifamily building with a height of 47 feet, 5.5 inches. If passed, it would be the tallest structure in all of Shorewood, looming directly over single-family homes. Second, open space. Section 1011(3)(f) requires a minimum of 25% of the land area of a PDU or a planned unit development devoted to a multifamily residential use to be preserved as common open space. As we know, the developer is only proposing 10% outdoor open space, which includes the courtyard pool. Issue is they're attempting to count indoor amenities, fitness area, coffee space, and stormwater basins, which is the retention ponds, as visual justification. But technically, they fall 15% short of the open space mandate. The developer's over-densifying the 7.3 acre lot, while actively the village waives their own laws, which strictly mandate the 25%. Third, property line buffer. Section 10-8-3C. When a non-residential or multifamily lot layout places off-street parking adjacent to a residential district, the parking must be set back at least 20 feet from the property line. Along the western property line, which borders the R1 medium-density single-family residential district, we know as Huntington Village, there are probably people from there, the developer is requesting a 5-foot parking setback. The developer argues that the adjacent 300-foot wide water basement, retention pond, buffer mitigates the intrusion. However, when they started including the retention pond as open space, completely contradicts their reasoning on how they passed the setback code requirements, meaning they have not made the required setback, even though they try to argue they do. You cannot justify breaking the rules for their own gain. Finally, off-street parking ratio. Section 10-8-4A, multiple family dwellings strictly require 2 parking spaces per dwelling. For 149 units, the code mandates about 298 spaces. The developer has proposed 224 parking spaces, which yields a ratio of 1.5 per unit, 74 less than code, which was not stated during the zoning meeting. I checked. Although developer claims a 1.5 ratio accommodates modern industry standards, their industry standard will inevitably fail. When it does, the overflow parking is going to spill onto the commercial lots in front and nearby into public streets like Parkshire, Shorewood, Edgebrook, or K-Crest. If a regular Shorewood resident came before this board asking to ignore the height limits, shrink their yard, slash their parking, and build right up against the neighbor's property line, you would say no before they could even sit down.
I need you to try to wrap up, please.
The rules wouldn't be bent for the people, so why are they bent for AR Building Company? You have the explicit authority to deny these exemptions. We ask you to enforce the strict guidelines and protect our neighborhood from noise, light pollution, overcrowding. Listen to the residents who live here, uphold the law, and vote no on this proposal. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Matt Persichetti. I'm a 20-year resident of Shorewood, and I've worked in Shorewood for 35 years. Full disclosure, I am honored to be a member of our Planning and Zoning Commission, but I'm not here today to represent that body. I'm speaking my own, that body's already advised you what to do. I'm here to share my thoughts on what you, my thoughts as a husband, as a father of 4, and a realtor and a trade member. I love this village. My youngest just finished his first year at Northwestern. Tomorrow I'm picking him up to bring him home for the summer. My other kids are all over 21. Not a single one of them could afford to buy or rent anything in our town currently that they love and would love to come back to. Across the country, we have a housing inventory crisis, a crisis that has been started by NIMBYism, which is not in my backyard, and continues to this very day. Too many local elected officials had said no to projects like this based on emotion and misinformation, not based on solid planning or data, and it has caused this crisis of inventory. We need more housing of every type, full stop. The village staff supports this project. Planning and zoning supports and passed this project unanimously. And our comprehensive plan calls for properties of this type. I'll quote from our comprehensive plan. The housing mix residential need and opportunities. Number one, locate multifamily residential uses near major transportation access and retail nodes. Number two, increase multifamily rental development in mixed-use development sites. Number three, commercial and residential mixed use are attractive to young professionals, small-sized households. And four, consider the inclusion of multifamily housing along the Illinois Route 59 corridor. Check, 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 and check. This project fits exactly what our comprehensive plan calls for. We had a steering committee and developed a comprehensive plan for a reason. We have a talented, educated staff for a reason, and we have a planning and zoning commission for a reason. That reason is to assist you elected officials and help you come to the best decision for our village moving forward, based on solid, fully vetted data and information. So, at the moment, what I typed out ends with, please vote yes for this much needed development. It's the right thing to do. I do have a caveat as I'm sitting here listening. I would hope that when the presentation comes from an AR that they will absolutely involve our high-quality union in their construction of this building should you pass it. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hello, my name is Norbert Loris. I live in Fox Bend. I just received this booklet yesterday, the Village Update. And I noticed there's 460 single-family homes going up. They're having, what else is there? The town center is going to have condos and rental residents too. With that, they're going to have to build more schools, another school probably. And with that, even though it's not your responsibility, most of our taxes go for the schools. Why don't we just finish this first, put the apartments, the 150 apartments on a back burner, and fill these out first to see where we sit with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Dean Rankovich, business agent, retired, local 150. Mr. Mayor, chairman, council people, right down the street, right across the street, 59, where your dividing line is between you and Joliet, Diane Cullinan is building 575 apartments, which of those, right now, they are renting out their first couple developments. You got 575 of them right down the street. You just read, you're gonna have some right here in your backyard. When these are all filled up, which this is part of your comprehensive plan, because you said Route 59, well, that's a dividing line. In and out of that casino area for Diane Cullinan is in and out, doesn't affect anybody. You don't have to worry about traffic jams. You start putting this amount of people coming in and out on Black Road there, you're gonna have problems. People are gonna get killed. Kids are gonna wanna run across the street and go to Aldi's and everywhere else. You're gonna put another light there? You're gonna put a bridge over the top of it? Until 59 gets changed, or Black Road gets changed, 4 lanes, 6 lanes, whatever it's gonna be, you have to think about the people that drive it up and down that road. And kids are gonna be kids. They're not gonna be just adults at these apartments. The school systems are overwhelmed to begin with. Think about them. The taxpayers are burdened enough with stuff like this. So do the right thing, turn it down. It's the wrong time of the year, wrong time of Shorewood's growth for this to be built here. Thank you.
Anybody else? One more.
Good evening. My name is Tony Seminary. I live at 526 Park Shore Drive. I'm a Shorewood resident. I'm also the Vice President of Teamsters Local 179. There is enough apartments going up. What is the big rush to throw up another 150? You haven't even seen the impact of what goes on. It would be incredibly irresponsible to put up another 150 apartments without seeing all the other apartments that are coming up, especially the 100 right here. You haven't even seen the impact of what's gonna go on here. We're asking you to wait and hold. And I will say point blank, that non-union company is not welcome in our back door. We will stand side by side with all labor unions, and we will raise hell when they come into our community. This is our community. We have a large, very large amount of people that are our members in this area. We will be very boisterous with them. We will let them know what is going on, and we will make sure that they stand out there side by side while you got 20 rats blown up and down Black Road. Do the right thing.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Denise Hitt. I'm at 529 Park Shore Drive. Back in '93, when my husband and I got married, we decided to make Shorewood our home, our future home. We also have, businesses we've had nearby, and I've had a business in Shorewood. I don't think these apartments are a matter of NIMBYism. We have a diverse array of people in our neighborhood as it is. We get along with them very fine. Problem is the accountability of the high density of traffic that's going through. I'm a little worried about this because nonstop, we're always getting speeders on our street, blowing through these stop signs. The police can only be there, as they're around, there's probably more needed. And I'm very worried because, yes, there are no sidewalks on our street. We have a problem with that because there are many times I have seen people have close calls when these cars decide they're gonna almost come close to see if they can clip you or not. So I'm very worried about that. Maybe perhaps another solution would be to relocate those apartments where there's a little bit more land and you don't have to deal with the bottleneck right there. That's pretty much all I have to say. So thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Last call. All right. With that, we will conclude our public comment section. We will move on with our agenda into our consent agenda for the evening. With that, consent agenda item number 1 will be approval of the regular meeting minutes for May 12th, 2026. Item 2 is approval of accounts payable in the amount of $1,472,075.75. Item 3 is approval of a payment in the amount of $31,225.05 to IMS Infrastructure Management Services for the 2026 pavement management study. Item 4 is approval of the payment in the amount of $48,972 to the Grand Prairie Water Commission for the April 2026 fees. Item 5 is a payment in the amount of $143,874 to Landscape Structures for the Huntington Park Playground equipment. Item 6 is approval of the payment in the amount of $11,300 to Sickich CPA LLC for the village's financial auditing services. Item 7 is approval of a payment in the amount of $701,836.02 to Joseph J. Henderson and Sons for the pumping station and the 5 million gallon receiving station project. And item number 8 is approval of the payment of $22,000 to Flock Safety for the continued operation of the police department's license plate readers. And just to refresh everybody, the Flock cameras are funded through grants. That's all this passed through for us. But does anybody have any other questions regarding this evening's consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion trustee Luciano, seconded by trustee Babiak. Roll call, please.
Babiak,
Yes.
Brockman,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Luciano.
Yes.
Selfridge.
Yes.
And Amos.
Yes.
All right. Consent agenda's been approved. With that, we'll go into reports of communication. Lana, did you have You said you had an item or two, I believe, for this evening?
Yes, Mayor, I have an email and a letter that I would like to read into the record.
Go ahead, please.
Dear Mayor DeBold and village board members, my name is Rhonda Altman, and as a 22-year resident and local realtor, I am writing to express my strong support for the proposed multifamily housing development. In my professional experience, I consistently work with young professionals, healthcare workers, teachers, first responders, and relocating employees who are eager to join our community, but are frequently met with lack of available housing options. Prospective residents and employers alike are calling for a greater variety of housing types, yet our current inventory remains limited. While Shorewood is a highly desirable location due to our excellent schools and quality of life, the shortage of rental and multifamily housing often forces people to look elsewhere. This leads to longer commutes and a lost opportunity for these individuals to become active members of our community. Communities that offer diverse housing choices are better positioned to attract employers and retain a talented workforce. Multifamily housing is a vital option for those not yet ready to purchase a home, professionals establishing their careers, and older adults seeking maintenance-free living. By providing these opportunities, we can support local business growth and strengthen our tax base without requiring substantial new infrastructure investments. To remain competitive and ensure our housing availability keeps pace with regional job growth, we must support thoughtfully planned multifamily developments. I encourage the village to approve this project as part of a balanced housing strategy that serves our current and future residents while maintaining the character of our community. Sincerely, Rhonda Altman. And this one is from Beth Stopko-Rios. Dear Village President DeBold and Village Board Trustees, my name is Beth Stopka-Rios, and I am a resident of Shorewood. I am writing to express my support for the development of multi-family housing within our community as part of a broader effort to address the housing shortage facing not just our community, but communities throughout the region. It is no secret that we are in the midst of a housing crisis. Shorewood's demand for housing continues to increase, yet the availability of homes that working families, young professionals, first-time homebuyers, and seniors remains out of reach. This shortage drives up housing costs and makes it increasingly difficult for people who want to live and work here to find a place they can afford. One of the most concerning consequences of this housing shortage is the continued loss of young adults between ages 18 and 35. Many of our graduates, young professionals, teachers, nurses, public safety personnel, and skilled trade workers are leaving Illinois or choosing other communities because they cannot find housing that fits their needs and budgets. When young people leave, our community loses future homeowners, volunteers, entrepreneurs, and community leaders. Multifamily housing is an important part of the solution. Well-designed apartments, townhomes, and condominiums provide housing options for young adults starting their careers, young families saving for a home, empty nesters looking to downsize, and seniors who wish to remain in the community. These developments create a more balanced housing market and help ensure that residents can find housing at different stages of life. Supporting multifamily housing does not mean sacrificing the character of Shorewood. Thoughtful planning and quality design standards will ensure new developments complement existing neighborhoods while meeting critical housing needs. The housing challenges facing Illinois will not be solved by any one project, but every community has a role to play. We have an opportunity to be proactive by encouraging a variety of housing types that meet the needs of current residents and future generations. I respectfully urge village leaders to support responsible multifamily housing development and policies that expand housing choices within our community. Thank you for your consideration and your service to our community. Sincerely, Beth Stopko-Rios, Shorewood resident. That is all I have.
All right, thank you very much. With that, we'll move into this evening's order of business. First item on the order of business agenda is consideration for approval or denial of an ordinance granting a conditional use permit for a planned unit development for Black Road Apartments by AR Building. It is up for a first read. Trustee Brockman and Economic Development Director, Ms. Engel.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I turn this over to Natalie, I'd just like to give the group a little bit of history. The board first looked at this project on August 26th of 2025 during the Committee of the Whole as a concept plan. The following week, Planning and Zoning looked at it for the first time, September 3rd, 2025, as a concept plan also, and received many good comments from the commissioners at that time. At our May 6th meeting, we held a public hearing. 22 people rose to comment, with the majority against the proposal. Despite that, it does come here to the board with a 5-0 vote for this board to approve. And Natalie, I'm going to let you take it from there.
Thank you. I think everybody knows where this site is, but just as a reminder, it's 9.3 acres. It's zoned B3, and they're coming here with a request for a planned unit development. The vast majority of our housing stock that's been approved since probably the late 80s has been approved as a planned unit development. And what that does is it allows you to look at the plan and to determine whether it meets the intent and does give some flexibility to grant some exceptions, provided that there are appropriate trade-offs. The property was annexed in 2000 and zoned B3. It's remained undeveloped since annexation. We believe it has been on the market since that time. Over the 6 years I've been here, we've had numerous conversations with commercial businesses and really haven't had much luck getting anybody to look at this property. It's 2 properties off of 59, and the traffic counts are fairly low for retail uses. It's a mixed-use development consisting of residential and commercial uses. What you see in red is the commercial lot. What you see in yellow is the residential lot with the apartment complex. Blue is the ponds, obviously, and purple is the access roads that they've proposed. To try to address any issues with traffic, we feel that it would be best to have one main entrance. So we have one main entrance proposed. It would be a signalized intersection along with Aldi. And then people would come into that access and they would go north, and then they'd either go to the left to go to the AR apartment building or to the commercial lots, and then village staff would be able to go to the right to access our water tower. At the Planning and Zoning Commission, there was some comments about potentially needing an emergency access. We had worked with police and fire to evaluate this and hadn't really felt a need. But certainly it is something that the developer was willing to look at. What they've proposed here is an access that goes along the Black Road property, and it would be something made of grasscrete, which is like a concrete structure that grass can grow in, so it doesn't look like it's a road and people wouldn't use it, but in case of emergency, obviously the fire and police department would know. We've written the PUD so that if the fire or police department wanted that, it could be done at the time of final, and at that point we could evaluate whether this is the best option or whether there might be another option that makes more sense, such as going to the north. And certainly that's something that can be discussed further. The commercial lot really isn't the main topic here, but it's a 1.84 acre commercial lot that could be used for a single building. It could be used for a couple of small quick serve restaurants. It could be used for a strip center, things like that, and it would share access with this development. Residential, obviously that's what most people are here to discuss. It's a 4.3 acre lot on the back of the property, and these sizes are not counting the ponds and the access roads and things. It's a single building with 149 apartment units and some resident amenities. They're proposing a 4-story U-shaped multifamily building with a pool at the center. They've put the pool at the center in front as opposed to in the rear because of the southern exposure. That was their reasoning. It's been designed to look kind of like a hybrid between a commercial structure to go with the 59 corridor, but also residential, and has things like pitched roofs and balconies and things like that to help with the transition. This is the front of the building. So the full front elevation is at the top. The bottom shows really a zoom in of the door. So they've basically used a combination of brick and sort of white siding, and they've done things to help break up the scale, like using the different materials, using different window sizes and patterns. They have varying roof lines, gables, balconies on every unit, and the building jogs back and forth, which helps to take down the scale and make it more residential feeling. The building has been designed with what's called 360-degree architecture, where basically, any of the facades could look like the front. They don't take down the style, on the rear or anything like that. This is the back of the building, looks very similar to the front, but instead of having a large entry, they have a patio with a balcony for the use of the residents. The building, there is one of the PUD exceptions that they've requested is for height. They're proposing a building at 47 feet, 5.5 inches, and just to give you a sense of scale, we've compared to a couple of other similar buildings in town. Alden is a couple feet shorter at 47 foot 6 inches, and the Timbers is at 41 foot 7 inches. If you've been out to look at the site, you probably saw the water tower. That's 128 feet, so roughly 2.5 times what this building will look like. As I mentioned, it's a U-shaped building. There are 149 apartments. The smallest is a 544 square foot studio. The largest is a 1,290 square foot 2-bedroom unit. And it's not like there's one floor of each type. They've got all these spread out. So what you see in yellow is the studios, in blue is the 1-bedrooms, and in green is the 2-bedrooms. The numbers are there. There's 44 studio apartments, 50 1-bedroom apartments, and 55 2-bedroom apartments. They have a maximum cap on their leases, where they can have a maximum of 2 people in the studios or the 1-bedroom, and a maximum of 4 residents in the 2-bedroom apartments. They do require that every adult be listed on the lease and be, actually a tenant, and that the children also be listed. And they'll have to tell you what the standard is, but I think it's something like after 4 days of being there, you are considered a resident and have to be on the lease. So you can't have somebody who moves in for 3 months. I'll show you some examples of their floor plans just to give you an idea of what we're looking like. What you see on the screen is the smallest of the studio apartments. It's 544 square feet. They go up to 630 square feet. So it's got, a kitchen, living room combination, a semi-enclosed bedroom with an open door, walk-in closet, and washer, dryer, and a bathroom. And then every unit has a balcony as well. This is a 1-bedroom apartment, obviously a little bigger, has a bedroom with a walk-in closet. This is sort of a mid-sized 1-bedroom apartment, and those run from 693 square feet to 869 square feet. 2-bedroom apartment, similar, add a room, add an extra bathroom, and those run from 1,104 square feet to 1,290 square feet. Building is accessed through, generally through the front door. That's where all the guests would come in, and it's where the residents would come in. They also have 8 other access points that are shown in green. They all have security cameras, and residents would need a code to enter. There's a double-loaded hallway that's highlighted in yellow that provides access to the different units. There are 4 staircases and 2 elevators. On the ground floor, they've got some common amenities. So there is a property management and maintenance office that's staffed typically 8 to 4. We've written it in as a minimum of 7 days during 7 hours during weekdays. There's a mail room, a parcel room, a games area that will have things like a foosball table, pool table, things like that, board games, coffee station, common lounge, and then a patio out back with tables and grills. Also on the main floor in sort of the corner, there's a utility room where people can store their bikes, and they also have a washing station for bikes or dogs. On the second floor, they have a common area sort of right above the entry, which has a 24-hour fitness room, as well as a common porch that the residents can go out onto. The pool is in the center, typically is open from 8 a.m. till, from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. It's for the use of the tenants. They have to use their code to get in, and they'll have things like beach chairs and picnic tables and things like that. They have some appearance standards. I know that when we talked about the last apartment complex, that was a big question, so we did ask them to provide some information. They'll provide blinds for all the units so it looks consistent from outside. They don't let anybody put anything other than blinds, curtains, or window coverings, so you won't have like blankets and garbage bags and things up front. No flags, posters, or banners in the windows. On the balconies, they can have patio furniture in good condition, they can have an American flag, but they can't have things like grills, pools, clothes hanging there, beach towels, and whatnot. They do allow pets. There's a 2-dog maximum, and they have a list of breeds and standards for the dogs. I'll jump into site planning a little bit. The access would be right across from the Aldi's. Right now, it's a 3-light intersection. They would be putting a 4th light in there. This is just kind of graphical to show you, but they'll be putting all in what they need for the pedestrian and ADA access. That's something the village was going to do if we, we found ourselves in a position, but they are doing that as part of their project, so that takes one thing off of our plates. There will be 1 lane going into the project on the north. There will be 2 lanes coming out. One will be a dedicated left turn lane. The other one will be straight across if you want to go to Aldi or Home Depot, or a right turn lane to go west on Black Road. Because you'll now be able to go straight, the Aldi access point will become a straight or right turn lane, where it's right now just a right turn lane. And they'll be restriping so that there's a left turn lane into the project. At this point, this is the minimum. We're only at the preliminary stage, so all of these will get refined and everything will get detailed as, provided the project goes forward to final. The goal is to take everybody in and then disseminate them, so that just kind of shows what's going on. We did have a lot of conversation at the public hearing and this evening about traffic study, so I'll just go into it a little bit more, and I did ask AR to bring their traffic engineer so they could answer any questions or describe things. Basically, looking at the current traffic situation of the site, this is kind of what IDOT tells us. So on 59 is the main road. There's about 25,000 cars south of Black. 25,000 cars south of Black, 29,000 cars north of Black. On this area of Black Road, there's 13,400 cars, and then it jumps significantly once you go past 59. So once you get to the Marianos area, there's 21,400 cars. What they did was they went out and they counted all of the turning movements and where everybody was coming and going to during the peak hours. So in Shorewood, the peak hours are from 7:30 in the morning till 8:30 in the morning on weekdays, and from 4 to 5 in the afternoon, also on weekdays. So they went out there and they took a look at all of these turning movements. This obviously is too small to really read the details, but it kind of gives you an idea of what different intersections they looked at. At that point, they looked at, if they put in the necessary traffic improvements that we described, what would our peaks be, what type of traffic would be generated from this site. So they looked at it from 2 perspectives. 1, the multifamily, 149 units, and 2, the retail and what that would cause. So basically, if we combine in and out traffic from a weekday peak, you're looking at 55 cars from the multifamily housing, 126 cars from the retail, totaling 181. The total at the weekday evening peak hours is 225. And overall, we're looking at 2,240 cars generated from this 9 acres daily. So that's 660 trips generated from the apartment complex and 1,580 trips generated from the retail portion. So even though the retail portion is smaller, they're still anticipating that it'll cause more traffic. And these things are done, the engineers can explain this much better than I can, but these are done based on engineering standards for traffic. There were a lot of questions about traffic and comments about traffic at the public hearing. So after that, we did ask the applicant to have their engineer do a comparison of, what happens if this project develops as mixed use with retail and residential compared to just 9 acres of retail. And that's much more significant. What we're seeing is if it develops as proposed, they're accommodating 2,240 trips a day versus if it develops as retail entirely, it would be 6,353 trips a day. So I just did the math on, what is the difference? So it looks like really if this goes mixed use, it's not going to be higher traffic. It's going to be just over 4,000 fewer cars a day. That'll be a 25% reduction during weekday morning peaks, 56% reduction during weekday evening peaks, and 65% daily trips per day from the property. And their engineer can go into this in much more detail if you have any questions. In terms of parking, we call for 2 parking spaces per unit in our code. It's a very, very old standard and doesn't really take into account multifamily very well. Industry standard tends to be 1.27. What they're proposing is 1.5, which as staff we feel is reasonable. So there's 224 spaces, the zoning would require 298. So that is one of the PUD exceptions they've requested. In terms of pedestrian access, they will be grinding and milling the walkway that's currently on Black Road. They'll have sidewalks going up along their access roads and then obviously all around the building as well. Landscaping is pretty standard for this. We're only at the preliminary stage, so we just have a general character, but basically there's canopy trees in front of the site and the parking lot around the ponds and stormwater basins, evergreens on the west property line for screening, and foundation landscaping, just fairly varied all around the lot. There are 2 different ponds which are sufficient to capture the stormwater for this, Pond A and Pond B. They are, basically the 2 ponds, and they'll work together and be installed at the same time. Utilities, we've got an 8-inch water main looping around the site. They're connecting to the existing sanitary sewer main at the rear. Typically, we would require decorative street lights in the front and key entrances. They're willing to put it everywhere, so we're looking at the decorative street lights like we have in the town center. From a maintenance perspective, they'll have the maintenance office we discussed. There will be a maintenance garage in back to hold things like lawnmowers and shovels and salt and things like that. There will be a dumpster enclosure at the southwest corner of the site, and they have a sort of concierge garbage system where the staff will actually bring the garbage out to the location. These are just some bulk standards, so they comply with our maximum lot coverage, they comply with our floor area ratios. Setbacks, they comply with all the building setbacks. They have requested an exception for the side yard parking setback on the west side of the building. They're about 350 feet from the nearest home, so we thought that was reasonable, but that is a request for deviation according to the PUD. This is the list of requested deviations, so it is the building height that we discussed, the 25% of land area. So our PUD calls for 25% of land area to be open space. In lieu of donating that open space, they'll be making a cash in lieu of donation to the village for use parks. And they've also got their pool area and whatnot. They did not count the ponds when they counted the open space either. So the 10% is a little bit low compared to what we actually think there is. They asked for the 5-foot parking setback as well as the reduction in terms of the number of parking spaces per dwelling unit. If they're approved, they expect this to take about 2.5 years, be about 6 months of final engineering, and then 24 months of building construction. Population projections, the question that comes up a lot is why apartments? Why does Shorewood need apartments? We've typically been a single family home community. Young adults are waiting longer to buy their first house. 20 years ago, 31 to 32 was a pretty typical age. Today, first-time home buyer, today the age of an average first-time home buyer is 40 years old, so that has jumped considerably. Factors are the cost of housing and down payments, higher student loan payments, uncertainty about the housing market, and shifting preferences where some people are preferring experiences and living in a smaller space compared to my husband's demographic who loves to be home mowing the lawn and whatnot. We're also seeing a trend where baby boomers who thought they'd live in their single family homes forever are deciding they need to downsize, but they're not ready yet to go to a senior community. So this is like a nice stopgap for them where they can rent for a few years until they're ready to go to a senior community and they can still stay in their community. This is something, and one thing that we've heard recently from the senior population, which surprised me a lot, is they like the predictability. If you're on a fixed income and your furnace breaks down and your air conditioner breaks down, like just happened to mine last week, that's catastrophic, right? If you're on a fixed income, but if you're renting, that's the landlord's problem, not yours. So some people like that certainty. Population projections, we have population projection tables in our zoning code. They actually date from 1996, so they actually project a higher number of children than we would probably see today. But what they're saying is the property would generate about 250 people. Of that, about 10 of them would be K-8 age students. So they predict about 7 that would be K-8 and about 3 that would be high school students. What we're seeing, you know, I mentioned that this is from '96, it's a little bit old, although it is the standard throughout Illinois. But what we're seeing is household sizes are decreasing over time and people are having fewer babies over time. So if anything, we're probably overestimating the number of children. We do have letters actually from the school district that I'll get to, and well, I can jump into this. So that was one question that came up, and we had been talking to the school districts, but we did ask them about it, and both school districts came up with letters. I'd be happy to read them if you'd like, that basically say that, you know, they agree with our projections, that you know, they believe that it would be, they would have virtually no students from the studios and 1-bedrooms. They agree with what we've suggested for the 2 bedrooms, and that they have the capacity and the resources to be able to accommodate those students. So we did get a letter from the superintendent of the Joliet Township High School District and the superintendent of the Troy School District. Both school districts did indicate that, you know, they're concerned about more bedrooms. So, you know, if it was a 2 and 3 bedroom mix, then they would be much more concerned than they are with studios 1s and 2s. So we did make sure to put the cap in there where you couldn't have any more than the number listed, and they were very comfortable with the idea of the 55 2-bedrooms. Just to jump back a little bit, our code requires that you either donate land or cash for school sites and for park sites. In this case, they'd be donating cash. It also requires an impact fee be paid to the school district, and that can be used for more than just land. So they'll be providing those cash donations. We did do a little bit of a, where did it go? Property tax estimates. Spoke with the assessor, looked up some similar values and whatnot. So we think that the residential portion will generate about $616,000 of property taxes. Residential and commercial together will be about $640,000. Of that, we think that about $23,000 would go to Shorewood, $290,000 would go to Troy School District, and $184,000 would go to Joliet Township High School District. This is annual based on 2025 numbers with some moderate assumptions in terms of values. Letters. Master plans. We did have a lot of discussion about housing when we did our master plan. There was a lot of conversation about diversifying housing, making housing for people at different life stages, and a lot of this was why the staff has recommended in favor of it. I won't go into details about that, but because it's getting getting a little bit long, but I'd be happy to answer questions. And then AR is here, and they can make a presentation, flesh out some of these concerns, and also they have their traffic engineer should we have any questions.
Does the developed petitioner want to make any comments?
There is a remote controlled slide mover on the podium.
Great. Thanks, Natalie. I appreciate it. Hi, my name is Jason Kambitsis, Kambitsis. I'm the president of AR Development Company. And I want to thank you for having us back tonight. Excited to discuss this with all of you. There's one thing I want to just bring up before I get into this. You know, there was a lot of discussion, and there's discussion tonight about union work and us being anti-union, and I don't really know what that means. Tom White came up here and spoke. April 29th of this year, they reached out to me and asked if we would talk. On May 4th, I talked to Tom White. So everybody's saying I won't talk to anybody isn't true. I've done that, and I said we're happy to talk to anybody about anything. We don't close the door on anybody. We have an open bidding process. And so I just have to make everybody understand that. The idea that somehow we won't talk to people or do that is just unfounded. Our rates and our contracts are at or exceed union rates. We're not anti-anything. We're apartment builders. I don't know what everybody else building around here does. I don't know if Lennar's a union builder. I don't know about any of that, but to say that we won't talk to anybody to do that is just false. because we have done it, and we've spoken directly to him. So anyways, you can put that back up. So, who's AR Building Company? We're a apartment development company located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We build, buy, and manage all of our own property. What I mean by that is we go through the process such as this. We locate property, we entitle property, we buy the property, we then build the property. We're the general contractor for all of our property. And then when it's done, we keep the property and manage the property. Very different than other apartment builders. A lot of people will build a property and then they will sell it off. They'll buy multiple properties from other people, whatever it may be. We have 10,000 units. We're in 13 states. We're currently building 2,000 more units. We're currently building in 8 states. Through the entirety existence of this company, we've sold maybe 400 units. Those units were mostly student housing in the city of Pittsburgh that just did not meet the goals of our portfolio and what we do. We focus on Class A apartment buildings. We do have older stuff around Pittsburgh. We're one of the largest property owners in Western Pennsylvania. We have over 4,000 units there. So we have stuff, legacy properties that we've owned since the 70s and 60s. But mostly this is what we do. We build, buy, and manage. We're a family-owned business. We're a privately held company. There's no outside partners or investors. It's one company. So we're not out there going through this process and saying we want to build this and then go find investors or do anything. If we're here to do it, we're here to do it. We don't build a property or at least entitle a property, then sit on it for years and hopefully something will happen. That's not who we are. We're here to get a deal done and build an apartment community. You can go to the next slide here. This button?
Yes, it's not working?
No.
Just the next one already.
Okay. All right, so this will give you a good example of properties that we build. Very similar in scale and size to what we're proposing here tonight. On the left is a property which we're actually going to reference later for its proximity to other new housing. It's in North Kingstown, Rhode Island, called Reynolds Farm. It's a 4-story apartment building. As you can see there, and with the other ones there, we use brick, we use Trex decking, AZAC panels, siding. The idea with our brick and why we use it is, like I stated, we own this stuff for our portfolio, so we maintain this stuff. The idea is, we want to make sure that in 10 years from now, 20 years from now, the buildings look the same. The buildings are not run down, the buildings are not falling apart. Brick is a big deal for that. And you'd be surprised how much it matters. Even when you cut grass, you work on the landscaping. If you have siding all the way down to your building, it gets beat up. If you have brick, it doesn't. So it's real brick, it's not panelized brick, it's true brick put up by masons. So that's a 225 unit project in North Kingstown, Rhode Island. On the right is Evergreen Apartments in Monroeville, Pittsburgh. 93 units, and on the bottom is another place called the Regency, very similar in size and scale to what we're talking about here in Pittsburgh. People talked about the pool in the front. There's a pool right there, and it opens up into a parking lot with a major supermarket in front of it. People love it. They love to see the movement of people out there. And again, designed that way for the sun. You go to the next slide. It's the interior of the building, so it gives you an understanding of what our club spaces look like. This building will have a large club space, have a front and back porch. We're gonna have a gym such as this. We have community areas, people come and play pool, they meet. They can meet before they go out, they play cards. We provide all that, TVs, fireplace. It really feels like a boutique hotel. The bottom, you can see the interiors. We use quartz countertops, stainless steel appliances. It really has a condo finish. The design of the buildings, we saw from the last picture, what you continue to see is we provide a porch for every unit, even the studios. We think having outside space is paramount. A lot of people will just not have that, or half the units will have that. We think having a deck or a porch is a big deal for everybody. We use large windows for natural light. The idea with that is, again, people love to come home to their house. These are Anderson windows or these are, again, what you would have in your home. The stuff that's in this building I have in my own home. It's just what we do. We try to build as much quality as possible. Go to the next slide. Again, we talked about the site. I think we all know where this is and its proximity to everything around it, and really its relevance within the community and what we feel is a good site based on its location on Black Road, and of course, its location to Aldi's and all the other retail in the area, and how it really works with the comprehensive plan. Go to the next slide. Again, as Natalie talked about, there's our apartment building with the pool in the front of it. Give a nice aerial perspective of the building. And then in the front, there's the future commercial lot. And I know we're talking about all the traffic that's generated from that. Really, this is a future commercial site. We're not commercial builders. Will it be sold off in the future? Sure. Will it have to come back through a PUD process? Yeah, it will. So just by saying that this is gonna be here, that somehow the traffic generated that comes up there, that 2,240 car trips that come out of that, it could be that, that's a conservative number, it could be less, it wouldn't be more. But the idea here is something could go there. You could have a little restaurant, you could have something along those lines. But again, that's not what we're talking about tonight, but we have that there just so people can understand what that means. You can go to the next slide. Again, Natalie talked about this. We're talking about restriping Black Road. We're talking about putting in a pedestrian crosswalk. We're also gonna have a new light there. The idea is here to bring in ADA compliance for pedestrian crossing. And we think that this will help with traffic flow along Black Road. You can go to the next slide. Again, when we talk about the building, you know, nobody ever looks at a building from this perspective, but this is what it is. So you can see the gable ends on the building. We do that in order to bring the size and the scale of the building down. As you can see, everybody has the big decks out there, corner decks, and of course the large windows, the brick, the siding. In here, you can see kind of a typical floor plan. This is the first floor plan. And as you go up, you have your common space, an office. We have on-site maintenance. We'll have a office manager and a leasing agent on site. And so there's always somebody there. The common space not only has areas for people to meet and hang out. We have a parcel room and mail all within the building. So Amazon packages, all the mail actually comes within the building. It's a secured building. You come into that building, you have to be fobbed in. You can't just let anybody in. All the doors are like that. And if you can see in each corner, we have elevators. Elevators are a big deal for us. We talk about the demographic breakdown of the people that live within these buildings. Really who we have are, as many people have spoken about tonight, people who don't own a home, maybe people who can't own a home, don't want to own a home, young professionals, and then people who don't want to own a home anymore. It runs the gamut. I think our average age of our residents across our portfolio is 40.6 years old. So the idea here is we get a lot of people who are maybe older and they don't want to live in a retirement home, or they don't want to live around everybody else who's 55 plus or 60 years old. They like to be around people of different ages. And of course, younger people who just want a new place to live in their area, especially a place that has no new apartments so far. You can go to the next slide. Again, here's our breakdown. You know, we really like our, we call it the open one bedroom. It's a studio. It's a really modern floor plan. The one on the left is very typical in the sense that you can see it looks like a little bedroom and it has an open space there. We have other ones that are essentially just all open, so it's one big space. Our one bedroom, everybody, and actually every unit has a washer and dryer that comes with the unit. Everybody has the same type of kitchen. It's not like you go into some units, you don't have a dishwasher, you don't have anything. Everybody has the same amount of stuff. It grows bigger as you go to the 2-bedroom, but everybody has the same amenities. The difference with the 2-bedroom versus the 1-bedroom is you have a master suite, and then you have a shared bathroom with the other bedroom. So it really does feel like a condo when you're in there. You can go to the next slide. So, you know, other people have talked about this here tonight, but you know, there is a housing deficit and more need for new housing. This is an issue across the country. It stems back for years. You can go back to the 2008 housing crisis and the fact that we have not kept up pace with housing, whether it's single-family homes or apartments. And as housing has been scarcer, homes have gotten more expensive, apartments have become more popular, and also changing demographic one of people not wanting to take care of their house anymore. I know a lot of people my age or younger who just don't ever want to cut grass. I understand that. I have a house. I like it. But a lot of people don't, and we find that, you know, in our city, in Pittsburgh, we're seeing thousands of new units come up, and it's just amazing when people just do not want to have that anymore. So, you know, we're responding to that. I think your comprehensive plan responds to that, and that's why we're here. You know, again, this all comes from the 2023 comprehensive plan, that public process done and adapted by you guys, talks about the need for new development, talks about the need for mixed-use development, talks about the need for various housing types and what that does to the community and help grow the community. You guys made this plan. I'm going to explain it to you, but it's all in there. You can go to the next slide. Again, as I just spoke about, you know, we have people from all backgrounds. We have people from whether they're, you know, managing a local store, whether they're a doctor, whether they're a lawyer. We talk about, we'll get into this, families. You know, mostly any families that we have come into our community are people who are you know, either leaving, they sold their house and need a place to go before they go somewhere else, or they're moving into the community and they want to buy a house. The idea, and we talk about the support from the school district of saying, well, there won't be a lot of children here. It's true, we don't get a lot of kids. We don't have playgrounds. We don't have any of that. We can't tell people they can't have families there, but when you have a 2-bedroom unit, it really limits the size and scope of families that want to come into the community. You can go to the next slide. Natalie spoke about this. You can have 2 people per bedroom. Anybody there for over 4 days has to be on the lease. So you could have 4 people in a 2-bedroom. It's not really what we normally get. That would be a family situation. But anybody after that 4 days, they have to go on, or they violate the lease and they do get evicted. Parking is monitored with the license plate numbers. We talked about the 1.5 parking spaces and how the industry standard is 1.2. That's true. In some places we have 1 and we have extra parking in the sense that we always build to 1.5. But the idea here is you're not getting the amount of cars. People will say, well, everybody has 4 cars. Not when they live in an apartment building. It's just not the case. We don't run into that. We wouldn't be building apartment buildings and being in a situation where people couldn't park. People wouldn't want to live there. We don't have that problem. We've had it once in a place where we had multiple 3-bedrooms on a property in which we purchased, and they put them all in one building, and so we accommodated that. And that's the only time. Through our portfolio, we don't have parking problems. They just have not existed in what we do. Again, the projection of 7 new K-8 students and 3 high school students, you know, that's the projection. We're not going to dispute that. We think it's less, but that's fine. And then, again, we did talk about the emergency access, and we proposed, if needed, we will have that extra emergency access on the left side of there where the commercial lot is, if need be. We're not against that. We don't ever want to be in a situation where we're restricting something like that. But if it's needed and wanted, we'll do it. If not, that's fine too. We can go to the next slide. So this is what came up before. You know, this was interesting about the Better Business Bureau came up. So everybody said you should read our reviews. Well, okay, since 2023, we've had 28 poor reviews and 78 complaints. Those are, out of 10,000 units, less than 1% of our residents nationwide. They are mostly about people being upset because they lived in an apartment, and then when they wanted to stay, the market rent went up, which went up across the country, and so they didn't want to pay more for rent. Or people who are upset because when they left a dirty apartment, and they were charged to get cleaned. Those are what we get. And when we talk about the Better Business Bureau, and we talk about Gurnee, which other people spoke about, our Google reviews there, and 25 reviews, we have maybe 70 units leased there. So a third of them reviewed at a 4.5, and the Better Business Bureau gets a 3.8 Google review. So take that any way you want. You can go to the next slide. There was comments about the proximity of our houses and how it affects housing values near there. As you can see, we talked about Reynolds Farm. I made a comment earlier about where we were next to homes. Since it was built, we've seen a 47% increase in value of the homes around us. Those homes butt up right against the property. On the bottom, you can kind of see, it looks like the Pentagon, the houses, and then there's small houses next to them. They're 50 feet from our property. They butt up right against our property. Those houses go for almost $600,000, and they sit right next to our property. We have no problem with that. Very similar situation in East Providence, Rhode Island, a 66% increase in value. And of course, in East Providence, it's harder to say it was a lower increase in value, but of course, the median sale price there is $800,000, so it's gone up 22%. So there was a conversation of saying housing prices will plummet if we build apartments, and we've never seen that. It just has not been the case in what we do. We build a high quality product. We're good neighbors. We do not want to come in and affect people's property values. We believe that rising tides raise all ships, and so we've only seen an increase since we've started our projects. You can go to the next slide. I'm going to let Brendan come here and talk about our traffic. You know, he's used the state and local standards for the traffic and kind of give an understanding, and I know Natalie spoke about it. It'd be best for him to be here to talk about it, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have, and I do appreciate your time. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Brendan May, and I'm a principal with KLOA Inc. We're a traffic engineering firm based out of Rosemont, Illinois. Natalie did a fantastic job summarizing a lot of the findings of our study. A lot of it is a little redundant, so I'll spend time on some new information and kind of recap the other slides where appropriate. So we had conducted a traffic impact study. This was done to industry standards, which are also consistent with state and county standards. So what this means is we go out and conduct turning movement counts at key intersections during the weekday morning and weekday evening peak periods. From here, we determine the peak hour of adjacent street traffic, which is when the traffic is highest on the roadway network. We then generate traffic for the development and then establish total projected traffic volumes, which include those existing turning movement counts, regional growth factors that we get from the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, and then the traffic generated by the development. From there, we conduct a capacity analysis to determine what or if improvements are needed to accommodate the traffic generated by a development. As Natalie mentioned, this is where we get our study area, and then this is a sample of what that area was. So this was the intersections along Black Road between Illinois Route 59 to Shorewood Drive. One thing I did want to touch on is the congestion that exists for the intersection of Illinois Route 59 with Black Road. I want to touch on why this occurs. Illinois Route 59 is what's called a strategic regional arterial route for the Illinois Department of Transportation. And what that means is it's their priority to move traffic along that roadway, so in this case in the north-south direction. What that does is limit the number of signals that are along this corridor, limits the green time at signals for the, in this case, eastbound and westbound approaches. And all of that is consistent not only with just Black Road, but for other intersections along this corridor. As you can see, the corridor extends from I-55 to the south, all the way north into Plainfield, further up into Naperville, and all the way to I-88. So it's one of their premier corridors. Black Road, go back. Black Road has a functional classification of a major collector. So what it's meant to do is collect traffic from the adjacent commercial and residential land uses and bring that traffic to 59. So a combination of those factors, understanding that Black Road is one of the limited signal opportunities within the village to turn on to 59, that is what's leading to the existing congestion. So how we generate traffic is based on the Institute of Transportation Engineers Trip Generation Manual. This is a trip generation manual established by surveying existing land uses, compile them and determining average rates. For the purposes of our study, we included traffic generated by both the residential and the commercial outlots in the front of the property. That way, when the signal improvements were being determined and implemented, we know that the traffic generated by the development can be accommodated by those signal improvements. Noting that the residential units alone consist of less than a third of what the total traffic generated by the site will be. And then, as Natalie mentioned, comparatively, the trips generated by the residential units are 85% less than if those units were generated with commercial. Next slide, thank you. So looking at traffic patterns, the majority of traffic generated by the development would be oriented towards Illinois Route 59, accumulating in 80%, of which 30% expected to travel to the north on 59, 25 to the east on Black Road, and 25 to the south, resulting in a limited amount of traffic anticipated to go to the west on Black Road. And then this is what those trip generation estimates that Natalie had shown are as they're assigned to the roadway network. As I mentioned, the signal's being designed for 2 outbound lanes, and Black Road's being restriped to provide an eastbound left turn lane to accommodate the eastbound in traffic into the development. And then in conjunction with the signal improvements, Black Road is being restriped to remove the exclusive right turn lanes that go into the commercial properties and provide an additional through traffic for vehicles trying to get to 59. So overall, the proposed access and intersection improvements will accommodate the traffic generated by the development, limit the impact of the development on Black Road by having only one access point, and improve the flow of traffic to Route 59 through the additional through lane. And then the traffic generated by the residential units, sorry, you go back. And then overall, the traffic generated by the residential units is significantly less than if the full site was commercial. It would make up 1% of the total traffic for the study area. I'm also available for any questions.
If you wouldn't mind, I would like for Noriel to give us a really quick update on Black Road and 59 in the intersection, because I believe IDOT is looking at that.
Yeah, so currently IDOT is looking at the intersection of 59 and Black. They're in phase 1 engineering right now. Much of it is looking at turning movements and trying to improve the level of service of that intersection. So the phase 1 scope is including dual turn lanes going onto northbound and southbound 59. And those improvements are in the works, or at least in that phase 1 engineering design. The only thing that I'm actually looking at, for at least from the village's end, is trying to prevent that this work is gonna occur at the same time that 52 is under construction. So we don't have a timeline yet, but they are in that phase 1.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Comments?
Got one question.
Yeah.
You stated it twice, thank you, but could you restate if it was all business, commercial there at that site versus a mix, residential, commercial?
Sure. I believe Natalie had the percentages as a mix, if you can go back to that table. But looking at the residential portion, the residential units, if that same acreage was developed with commercial, the residential units is 85% less traffic than what the commercial piece would generate.
85% less?
Yeah.
If it's the apartment building and commercial versus all commercial?
That was just for the commercial part. I believe when you include the commercial that's proposed with this, it was something in the 45 to 50% less.
It's less.
Less.
Yeah, we did slightly different math. I added the full 9 acres together, and you compared the northern part. So that's why our averages are a little bit different.
Got it. The methodology you use for estimating visits.
Yep.
It's been used for years. Is it a nationwide methodology? Is it talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I would say more industry standard. So we assume 10,000 square feet of gross floor area per acreage. And what this kind of does is averages out the development of the parcel to account for detention and parking and all of that. We use this method uniformly with all hypothetical commercial properties in any type of land traffic study we would do when the commercial isn't specifically identified.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Not for him, no.
It can be for anybody. What do you got?
Okay. Financially, which is what everything that's been done by the village board over the last 40 years has been for the benefit of the village, as far as I know. And the whole idea is we live on sales tax. We would die if we didn't get the sales tax. So to turn this into a residential area at that point and take away the commercial, to me, $30,000 in property tax off of that building coming to the village. Not total property tax. I saw the 600,000, but 30,000 coming. I see that there are people there that'll be shopping in our local establishments, eating in our restaurants. I'm not sure what that means versus the amount of sales tax that a commercial development, even if we have to wait, we had to wait for a lot of things here in Shorewood. But if we put that there where we were designed for commercial, and expect 30,000. You look at me kinda strange there, so. Okay, yeah, I mean, it's $30,000 versus maybe, depending on what goes in there, eventually. Okay, something's gonna go there. The whole area's growing, that property's a valuable piece of property. I'm willing to wait, and, I think the fairness to the people who worry about it is they're proper, because that's the unknown. And the unknown's always a little scary. But I'm in that area, and I represent this group right here, as far as that goes, so. I would like to see a vote on this, and I would like to see us turn it down.
Anybody? Any other comments or questions?
Go ahead.
I guess what's the villages, and maybe it's out of the scope, but do we have any plans for west of 59 for Black Road? Like, to accommodate some of these traffic concerns?
That's Noriel.
Currently, we don't have anything in our 5-year plan, but we'll certainly, keep an eye and monitor it. But there is no improvements at this time for, traffic, related to traffic in our 5-year plan.
For this project, I guess, how long are the typical leases? Are they full year leases? Are they month to month?
Our typical leases are 18 months. We don't
18
do
months?
short-term leases, or we just try to stay away from 12-month leases.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I guess my two thoughts, I actually agree with Trustee Chapman related to the sales tax and my concern there with losing the commercial property. I look back at our budget and 36% of our general fund is funded through sales tax. And it's a much smaller percentage from property taxes, you can see on that form there. I think a lot of people think the village gets rich off of the average property tax, and it's really, most of it goes to the schools. My other concern, I guess, or thought on pause is, we don't have a lot of apartments in Shorewood, and we approved a project right here. The board did. I wasn't in favor of that project at the time. And the thought is to see what that impact of the apartments would be, and I mean, we're 4 years later and it hasn't been built, so we don't know. But my concern is adding too many apartments too fast, right? Before we see what the impact of 1 or 2 developments might be, especially with some of the added apartments around this area. So those are my concerns with the project. Thank you.
Sure. Trustee Lushan, do you have anything, or no? I didn't know if you were trying to comment or not. You, did you have something to say or no?
No, I have something, but I don't have it right now. I want to hear some, if anyone else had any questions.
Any other questions?
And I guess
it's yours.
Well, one of the things is for the developer.
Sure.
The parking spots concern me to the extent that, these people will have visitors. And if we have 174 apartments there, that I'm assuming that if everyone had one car, it takes 174 of them. But when you have 2-bedroom apartments, that means there's gonna be more cars. And if they have visitors, where are they gonna park? Is there a place for visitors to park? Is that gonna be accommodated? And before you answer, I'll just go a little further on that. From what I understand, someone could stay there for 4 days before they have to be listed on the lease.
Yeah.
So if people were having people stay over, a mother, a daughter, or whatever, are they gonna be able to have spaces to park in?
Do you want me to answer? Yeah, okay. That number that we come up with, that 1.5, accommodates that. That's part of that number. And all I could speak of, I mean, we can all conjecture and speak about traffic, we could speak about whatever. I could speak about just my experience from having 10,000 units across the country, is that we don't have parking issues regarding that. People have visitors, people do, it's a process that we keep everywhere. And I know that it's, people ask a lot of questions and they have a belief that there's a lot more people coming and all that kind of stuff. But realistically, we don't have anything with that, and those numbers are factored into that. The idea of the 4-day thing is we can't have people taking advantage of people being there. They may or may not have a car. Some people have, we have a lot of people that rent 2 bedrooms and they're only one person. And so they keep the other one as an office. So we have that a lot. And you can have 2 people living and they share a car. So it goes up and down. If you were to see, I mean, we do our own analysis of our projects. We go at 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, and we look at them and we never, ever have a problem, because what we don't want to do is we don't want to be in a situation where people have no place to park. The way that the building is actually designed is so you can actually enter the building in a way, in the circumference around it, so you have a place to park, so people aren't on one side of the building and they can't get to the other one. So all I can say is just from our analysis, from what's seen industry-wide, we don't have those kind of issues, and people have visitors all the time, and we just don't run into that. And
Well, the reason I bring it up is I've been to places similar to you.
Sure.
And to visit people, and there was no place to park.
Yeah.
We had to wait until someone left and things like that, so that would be ultimately a concern.
Sure.
The next thing I wanted to ask you about is, I know you don't provide any playground equipment or anything for children there. But in the notes I read here, it indicates that they're allowed to have basketball nets or things there.
Those are prohibited.
That's prohibited.
That's a prohibited, I thought it said it wasn't new.
The language
Patio
is
furniture
confusing.
in good, sorry, patio furniture in good condition is permitted, but all of those other things like pools and basketball hoops and grills are prohibited on the balconies.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
in the balconies, I'm talking about.
Anywhere, we
having
don't have basketball hoops
In
outside.
open space, so there's,
No, absolutely not, yeah.
If you read the language in the packet, it makes it sound like all of those things are allowed if they're in good condition.
Oh,
Yeah,
gosh,
no,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
but that's not it, like, we
So-
don't even
That's what I
allow,
read.
It was different on your presentation, but in the packet it reads
so
that
like,
way.
I can even go one step further. We don't allow grills on our decks.
no, I'm not talking about.
Oh, yeah, I know, I'm just saying as far as,
trying
no,
to
we don't allow
Answer the
that.
statement there, so that statement in the narrative is incorrect.
If that was in there, I apologize, but that's not what we
All right,
have.
so no sandboxes, no.
No, absolutely
pools.
not.
So they're not allowed to have anything for children.
No, we don't have.
Next thing I wanted to ask is, the occupancy in the places you already have.
Sure.
That are being utilized, what's your average occupancy?
Oh, geez, our portfolio wide is 98%. So these new ones lease up very quickly, and I would say our new ones are 98 to 100%, so.
All right, just a comment, and, it makes sense to me that bringing in 174 apartments,
It's 149, sorry.
149 or whatever the number is going to bring people in, which are gonna purchase stuff at our businesses, which is gonna give us some more sales tax than we normally would have. So, I can understand the part of it about a commercial business being there and bringing more, but as things are going right now, we don't have a lot of people looking at that property. So, that's something to consider.
Yeah, I mean, if I can make one comment on that, I mean, as Natalie showed, I think it's been vacant. It's been in this situation annexed since 2000. It hasn't had any, nothing's happened to it. And it really just comes down to an ideological issue. Do you want a commercial space there, or do you want apartments there? And do you want more people shopping at the places you have, or do you not? And furthermore, as I stated, we're not proposing anything on the commercial space out front, but we will be having that out there for people to purchase a 1.85 acre site. So there will potentially be commercial on there in the future. Maybe more accommodating than saying you need to have a 30,000 or 40,000 square foot building, but rather you can have 2 smaller ones or 1 smaller one. So that may spur something that maybe they couldn't in the past. But yeah, I mean, it really comes down to what do you believe is right from size perspective and the taxation perspective.
And one more question on the traffic in and out. You did say in there that you're gonna synchronize the stoplights.
Sure.
Which stoplight are you synchronizing? The one on 59 or the one by?
I'd have to ask
Aldous?
Brendan as to how he wants to.
Sure, and I know the final signal design and signal plans are still being worked on, but given its proximity to 59, the signal would be designed such that its operations doesn't hinder the operations of the 59 signal.
All right, so if you have two lanes exiting out.
Yep.
If you say that you're gonna have a double left turn lane on Black, you said you're gonna have a double left turn lane on Black onto 59, is that correct?
That's an IDOT project.
That is a future
That's
IDOT
not anything
project.
to do with them? Okay.
No.
All right, one more thing I just mentioned, and one concern I do have is, I think in the beginning this was attractive to us because of the Hamptons not progressing the way we thought they were gonna progress, and we did wanna try to see how apartments would work out. However, I'm concerned that we really haven't had a testing of what the apartments would do. And as one person mentioned out there, the fact is, with all the building we have going on right now, maybe we need to sit back and just wait to see how all that turns out before we move into a project like this that we can do down the line, if they're still interested in being involved. That's all I have to say.
So, what I'm gonna reference on a couple of things here is, the traffic impact, the numbers are valid. The agency that the petitioner used is somebody we've retained before, so I trust the numbers on that. But in regards to traffic, one of the underlying problems that we have is, this isn't all just Shorewood traffic. It's from numerous other communities, and that's not gonna stop. So that's going to be a struggle we're going to always have. The other problem though is, if we don't grow, all we're doing is passing our continued operational expense onto our residents. We're currently about 18,200 residents, 6,500 households. We've got a tax rate of less than 3 cents on the dollar. So we need growth. Now, where exactly that growth has to be, without a doubt, is worth the conversation. But if we don't grow, we would have to continue to raise tax rates on our residents, which nobody wants. We don't want to do that. We know we're bringing a lake water project here. We are being super cognizant about what those impacts are to our ratepayers. So without a doubt, I will admit, I know this board has been very passionate about finding growth that supports the village. I've had more phone calls about this project up until today, until apparently some real estate posting went on a social media tangent, and apparently it's confused everybody, but there's no data center being discussed, so I don't know where that came from. Somebody took a social media post, and there's not a data center being proposed here right now. So I don't know where that came from, but I was overloaded with phone calls today about that. Additionally, in this location in itself, I think almost everybody on this board said here, we had a senior development come to this exact same location, and we discussed it. And we questioned that type of business at that location. So there are concerns, and I completely agree with that. The traffic is going to be an impact regardless of what's there. If it's retail, the numbers are gonna double from what they're proposed, and there's gonna be an impact. I'm gonna go back to, I believe the petitioner may have even said it, it's an ideological issue as to what the board wants to recognize. And I do believe the board listens to residents. I know I've gotten a numerous amount of phone calls in the last week coming up to this about different concerns. And I won't deny, they've spanned from the fact that it's an out-of-state builder. It's their Google review aspect of it. I do support rentals. I do think we need rentals. I do believe we are missing a component in our housing opportunities. I will agree, though, I don't know if this one location with a single building is the right opportunity. 4 stories seems to be the one thing I hear constantly about. I bet you I took 10 calls today, again, that was the underlying concern, is 4 stories versus 3 stories. Romeoville, Plainfield, Bolingbrook, most of those other facilities, they're bigger developments, but they're 2- and 3-story buildings. And again, cost per acre, cost of development. We understand that. We just talked with Lennar. They did single-family homes. Cost of development is up there. We know that doing our own public works projects, doing MFT, the basic principles and the core operations that we do to keep our municipality safe, clean, and operational, we understand those stressors. And you're right. Property tax is only a small portion. We thrive on sales tax. But we do have to grow. And I will admit, every project gets a fair shake. And every project, I know this board listens to the residents. They talk to constituents, not just at meetings. We just had our first party in the park. I couldn't tell you how many people wanted to talk about this project. Good, bad, or indifferent, regardless. But people are willing to grab board members and have those conversations. And I know our board members are willing to engage and listen to those concerns. So whichever way the vote may shake out, I know the board is listening to the constituents, they are talking to the residents, and they are making informed decisions based on what they're hearing from the community. I take pride and honor of being able to serve on this board for this community. I live in this community, just as everybody up here does. We go to these parties in the parks, we go to our Oktoberfest, we go to all the different village events that we do. And I will be the first to admit, we stand by whatever that vote may be, whatever that decision is for whatever, any project comes along, we have to live with it. We have to accept whichever way we vote for any type of development that comes through here. But I assure you, every person on this board takes those decisions seriously and nothing is taken for granted. With that, I don't know if anybody else has any other questions, but I simply wanted to address a few phone calls that I got today and just some different conversations from residents along the way. Again, this item is up for a first read. Whether or not anybody wants to take action on it, it's completely up to the board at this time. Unless anybody else has any other questions?
Just go forward with it.
Go ahead, John. What?
I'll be looking for a second here, okay? I'd like to make a motion for the consideration for the approval, okay, or denial. And I don't quite understand the way that is worded.
That came from council.
At the request of Dave Silverman, we are going to start to put 2 different options for motions on the agenda for land use cases. So if the motion is for approval, we have a suggested motion for you, and if there's a motion for denial, we also have a suggested motion for you. And that's something that Dave Silverman suggested just because of, some recent meetings and some recent questions we've had.
It's a new one.
I know,
don't think
yeah,
I've
I
ever
should have
seen
mentioned that earlier.
I've read a lot of them, so.
Yeah, so we have a motion for approval, or we have a motion for
A
denial?
motion for denial of an ordinance granting a conditional use permit for a planned unit development for Black Road Apartments by AR Building Company and waive the second read.
Okay, so we have consideration for a motion of denial regarding the granted conditional use by AR Development by trustee Chapman waiving the second read.
Second.
Seconded by trustee Selfridge for denial. That calls for a roll call for clarification. Council, an aye vote supports the denial.
Correct.
A no vote would be opposed, would be in support.
For support, no would be support.
Is this so everybody understands the way that the motion was read and seconded? So an aye vote, a yes vote, supports the denial of the petition of the applicant.
And the reason.
To make it easier and understandable, could you possibly change the motion to approve and everyone will understand that easier?
This is from council.
And just so you know, the reason that that Mr. Silverman suggested that we write it in that way is because when there's a denial recommendation, we've often been asked why. So with the motion for denial, we put a why, that it wouldn't, you know, because you're evaluating based on whether it meets the standards of the ordinance. So the denial motion says, we're denying because it doesn't meet the standards of the ordinance. That helps us to answer those questions when we're asked by applicants and when they threaten lawsuits and whatnot.
Yeah, this came from council to change it up like this. So again, just, you have a motion on the floor for denial from the petitioner. It's motioned and seconded, and it's been requested to waive the second read. So an aye vote supports the denial. A no vote would be more of a support.
Correct.
Okay. Lana, you understand as well?
I do.
Okay, Lana, roll call, please.
Brockman.
No.
Chapman.
Yes.
Luciano.
No.
Selfridge.
Yes.
Amos.
No.
And Babiak.
No.
So the motion to deny failed. 4-2, correct me if I'm wrong.
That is correct, 4-2.
Okay, council. Does that require at that point, it need a second motion for approval by a new petitioner or a new board member, or?
No, so it's approved.
So that's deemed approved?
Correct.
Okay. So the motion for denial was failed, 2-4. So therefore, by default, the motion's approved. Okay.
Is it okay with everybody if we update the PUD to be very clear about things like basketball hoops being prohibited?
All right. Well, moving on to business item number 2 would be a consideration for approval of an ordinance reducing the number of Class D liquor licenses. This was the formality, 7-Eleven's closed up, so we do not need a extra Class D liquor license down there. If there's any questions on,
They're part of the record.
they're inserted into the record. Okay. The gentleman noted there was 500 signatures. We heard it.
So actually, you guys don't listen to all the village people. You just do what you want.
Sir, the meeting has moved beyond that part, but we did hear. It was.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Your.
No, I mean, good for you.
Sir, your. Consideration for approval to reduce the Class D liquor licenses. It was up for a first read. We don't need a second read on liquor license reduction. Anybody have any
We
questions?
don't need a second read, so we don't need.
We can waive the second read on it. We're just removing the liquor license for 7-Eleven is what this is.
I'll make a motion for the approval of an ordinance reducing the number of Class D liquor license and waive the second read.
Second.
Motion by trustee Selfridge, second by trustee Amos. Roll call for that, please.
Chapman.
Yes.
Luciano.
Yes.
Selfridge.
Yes.
Amos.
Yes.
Babiak.
Yes.
And Brockman.
Yes.
All right, business item number 3 would be a consideration for approval of an annual appropriations ordinance for the village of Shorewood, Will County, Illinois, for the fiscal year beginning April 1st, 2026, and ending March 31st, 2027. This item is up for a second read. Ms. Burkle.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the second read of our appropriations ordinance. It remains unchanged since our first read 4 weeks ago. We did follow procedure and host our public hearing this evening. The total appropriation proposed is $86,355,154. That does represent an adjusted amount over the village's budget to account for anything unforeseen that may happen over the course of the fiscal year. However, we will operate within the confines of the village's budget. This just represents what we file with the county. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Anybody have any questions on the appropriations ordinance? Housekeeping formality? Not take a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion for the approval of an annual appropriations ordinance for the village of Shorewood, Will County, Illinois, for for the fiscal year beginning April 1st, 2026, and ending March 31st, 2027.
Second.
Motion by Selfridge, seconded by trustee Babiak. Roll call, please.
Luciano,
Yes.
Selfridge,
Yes.
Amos.
Yes.
Babiak,
Yes.
Brockman.
Yes.
And Chapman.
Yes.
All right, items 4, 5, and 6 are procedural, but we will review them real quick. Item 4 is a consideration for approval of an ordinance of the Village of Shorewood, County, Illinois, proposing the establishment of a special service area number 14 and calling for a public hearing with regard thereto. This is in regards to this Hamptons of Shorewood. It's up for a first read. Natalie, and I know council's just not here to talk about it, but this will apply to the next 3.
Sure, so very
Items.
simply, when we approve annexation agreements, we call for an SSA in case the homeowners association defaults on their pond maintenance or their maintenance of common properties. Typically, we don't collect any taxes from it, but we have it in case we do need to collect taxes. This ordinance basically brings it up and schedules a public hearing for August 11th. And we would then publish the public hearing. Is that?
So all we're doing is establishing a public hearing date.
No actions taken?
No
No,
action.
I should take it. And it's for the 3 new ones. It's for Hamptons of Shorewood,
Well, you-
Auburn Chase.
But you do need an
Sorry.
action to approve the ordinance to establish
You
the
do, yeah.
public hearing date.
Right, and you could do all 3 together.
Yes. Then we can waive the second read for this, correct, as well?
Correct, yes.
So all we're doing is establishing a public hearing date for the special service areas.
We can do them together by number, or do I need to read each one?
Can we do an omnibus vote on that, or does it need to be individual?
You could do all 3 together.
So we can do, so for clarification, item number 4 is establishing a special service area number 14, that would apply to the Hamptons of Shorewood. Business item number 5 would be establishing a special service area number 15, which calls for Auburn Chase. And business item number 6 would be the approval of the ordinance of a special service area number 16 regarding Sile Road Estates. So we can, and per council, we can approve
I'll
4,
make that
5, and
motion.
6. So we have a motion by trustee Amos
Second.
and seconded by trustee Babiak. Roll call, please, for items 4, 5, 6.
Motion by who?
Sorry, Luciano, I apologize, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Motion by trustee Luciano, seconded by trustee Babiak. Roll call, please.
Selfridge,
Yes.
Amos.
Yes.
Babiak.
Yes.
Brockman.
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
And Luciano.
Yes.
All right, with that, we'll move into business item number 7, which is a discussion of a concept plan for the Point at Kipling Estates. Trustee Brockman and Ms. Engel.
Thank you, Mayor. We did look at this at our last planning and zoning meeting, had a lot of very good comments about it, and Natalie, you wanna fill in the blanks
Sure.
for us, please?
So the plan in your thing is marked Kipling Estates Courtyard Phase. It's been renamed to the Point at Kipling Estates. This is property on the west side of Windstone, south of Sile Road. To the east is the townhomes at Kipling Estates. Kipling Estates basically surrounds it. To the north is the Sile Road Estates project that you approved last meeting. And it's been owned by the Methodist Church. They were gonna build a church there, but ultimately they chose a different location and this went onto the market. Kipling Homes is looking at it and they're proposing to do 2 different styles of townhouses. They're basically courtyard style townhouses, which basically means that the garages are on the back and the front entry, sort of the nice facade, is on the front. There are 2 different styles. The one that you see on the top would be on the south side of the site. It's the more modern design. The one that you see on the bottom is the plan that they're proposing for the north part of the site, but they're gonna zhuzh up the elevation a little bit and modernize it before you see it again. We talk about missing middle, and there's a lot of conversation about missing middle housing, especially in the media courtyard houses is one of those styles where you're able to get a little bit more density, and they either come in single family or townhouses. In this case, they're proposing townhouses. And these are 2 site plans they've proposed. Really, they have a very short time period to close on this property. They only have a 30-day due diligence period. So we're throwing this up very early for you to see it. I don't think that this is the exact final site plan that we're looking at. To the left, you see sort of a circle that goes around it with the rear behind it. To the right, you see more of a P-shaped lot coming out, but just wanted to get your feedback on whether this is appropriate for the site, whether you think they should keep working on it, because if you're in favor of it, they're gonna take the risk and buy the property. There's 2-car garages for each unit. They're all 2 stories tall. They have 2 or 3 bedrooms and 2.5 bath each. You know, the numbers are conceptual, the setbacks are conceptual. It's a very, very early site plan, but what we're looking for is, you know, the feeling of whether this would be appropriate. Townhouses are 1.5 stories or 2.5 stories tall. This is the comprehensive plan where we talk about single unit attached, so it does fit with our comprehensive plan. And here is the site plan again. And Mr. Maddox and Ms. Kilhafner are here to answer any questions.
Anybody, essentially, it looks like it's just another pod within Kipling. So, I mean, it's the same type of product that's already in there, townhomes, owner-occupied units. So, I mean, it's the old church site that was up there along Kipling across from the clubhouse.
I just have one question.
Yeah.
It sounds like a great idea, but I know it's just a concept plan for you, but your future plans for it, if we're agreeable to it, how soon would it happen?
Good afternoon, good evening, actually. My name is Ed Maddox from Kipling Group. And if we, if this was to be approved, we would start this immediately. So this would be a 2026 development.
A 2026 project if approved?
How would the setbacks work? Like you got the houses over there and you got townhomes, do they have enough space to lay it out? Or is that gonna be a problem?
I think they have enough space to lay it out. They have enough land there. It would be a PUD, and it would be very similar to what you see in the, I believe it's called the Devonshire section. Is that what it is, right behind it, Mr. Maddox? What do you call the townhome section right behind it?
It's the Fieldstone.
The Fieldstone.
Which is the same design as what we're proposing, other than this is a new version, updated architecture.
So they would basically, for the most part, they would design a site plan, they'd build an envelope around the buildings. I believe they'd condo the buildings, and the land around it would be common. Is that correct?
Well, every unit is a townhouse, so the land beneath it is owned by the tenant. And then there's a condo association for the other land.
Would this development have access to their clubhouse within Kipling's association, or has that?
We've started down that road to try to work out an agreement with Kipling Estates that this would be part of the master association that would contribute to, the things that
they do,
entrances and things like that. But
sure.
And then it would if we come to this agreement, and then this would be a separate association as well for maintenance of this property.
So this project, for the village perspective, is about a week and a half old. And you'll note it doesn't show any stormwater management. Mr. Maddox believes that the stormwater management was accommodated with Kipling Estates, so we are digging through our old records, trying to find those documents to see whether that's the case. We'll reach out to our engineers and get them if we don't have them, but it's just the understanding, this is very preliminary and very conceptual at this point. There is a possibility you would have to accommodate stormwater management, but if it's been accounted for already in those Kipling Estates designs, then we can bring that information back to you.
Yeah, Natalie, sorry, go ahead, Scott.
What's the difference between a courtyard home and a townhome?
So, I mean, they're both one and the same. Typically, a courtyard home faces a courtyard or a green space.
Okay.
And if there's parking, if there's garages, it's rear loaded.
Okay.
And a town, like, well.
So it's a
they're
style,
town.
right,
It's a
but they're
style.
townhome. Okay, all right, thank you.
Correct.
Tom?
What's the rush? Why are we looking at this so
The
early, a week and a half into it?
Is only willing to consider a 30-day due diligence period, which we've heard not just from Mr. Maddox, but from other potential buyers as well. So
Okay. That's kind of unusual, isn't it?
it is very unusual.
Yeah, somewhat,
All right.
But this is pretty straightforward. It's the same product. It's right next door to it. The courtyards of the Fieldstones is the same thing. So.
And it's for development, it's slated for 2026 if you go ahead with it.
Correct.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions? I think it's pretty straightforward. It just adds another pod within the Kipling development already over there, so I thought it's a easy addition to that one. Anybody have any concerns about it? All right, looks good on that one. And then item number 8 is discussion of a concept plan for a development called Meadow Ridge. Mr. Brockman and Ms. Engel.
Really just turn right over to Natalie, just go right ahead, Natalie.
Sure. So this is a little bit more fleshed out of a site plan because they've had a bit more time. This is the Feeney property, so it is on the north side of Sile Road, about an 1/8 mile west of the railroad tracks, kind of north of Auburn Chase. It's a proposal for single family and duplexes. Mr. Maddox will go into more detail, but it's meant to be an entry-level subdivision where they have smaller lots, smaller houses, and some different opportunities to get people in there. They're looking at 32 single-family lots that are highlighted in yellow that are 65 by 128, so about 8,300 square feet. 68 that are smaller at 55 by 128, so about 7,000 square feet, and 32 duplex lots. So it's the total of 164 dwelling units. The intention would be to have pretty standard setbacks, probably 25 feet in front, maybe 6 foot or 7 foot side yard setbacks. Pretty standard rights of way, between 60 and 66 feet, about 30-foot streets. 3 stormwater detention areas. They would have a park. There would be different lots. They would like to design, they haven't designed the houses yet, so what we would do is similar to other annexation agreements where we would sort of provide a menu and say they have to have a certain number of different design elements. So, brick or 2 colors of siding, or shutters or different roof planes and things like that. So we would make a menu where they have to have a certain number of things. There has to be certain anti-monotony and things like that. They do want to make it entry level, so they don't want to have to 100% provide brick on every facade. They'd like to have the option to do siding as long as they mix it up and things like that. They also are looking at doing things that we haven't seen in a while, but things like sweat equity, where people could, finish out their flooring and painting by themselves and stuff like that. So I'll let Mr. Maddox describe that a little bit better.
So, thank you for that intro. We're wanting to do an entry-level neighborhood in town, and nowadays it's surprising, but an entry-level house is $400,000, and we are a strong proponent for single-family housing, especially for young people, and so we'd like to bring this forward to where we can do it in a way that I don't know if we mentioned, we're looking for like asphalt driveways instead of concrete driveways. And then the right-of-way of the roads being 60 feet instead of 66 feet. Pavement being 30 feet, I think that's standard pretty much anyway. But side yard setbacks of 7 feet instead of the typical 10 feet. We're doing a lot of things here to keep the pricing down and to attract the first-time home buyer. As Natalie mentioned, we're introducing a sweat equity program. It's something from the past that we've done years ago, and to where young buyers can, especially if they're tradesmen and they're an electrician, well, they can come to this site and they can wire their own house. It's all under our supervision, but they're able to do that as their sweat equity, because the challenge of the young people is they don't have the down payment, to qualify for the mortgage, So we're trying to balance a lesser mortgage by trying to hold the cost of the home down and then reduce the amount of cash as far as down payment by allowing them to do what they can do. If there's a plumber, he can do his own plumbing. An electrician can do his electrical work. People can just paint. They can do their own flooring. It's all under the supervision of Kipling, and if they don't do it within the time allotted, then Kipling will go and do those items, and then they'll take a second mortgage on the house. But ideally, that would not be the program that we'd like to as the standard.
Do you assume assume, I think when we've talked and from our experience, the vast majority of sweat equity that people put in are flooring, painting, planting those shrubs, right? There's probably
Yeah,
many
that's the
fewer who are
majority,
actually
right.
tradespeople.
Right,
who
but
would-
there is a big calling for the tradesmen, you know, the concrete people, electricians, plumbers, HVAC guys, that gives them a chance to have their equity. You know.
So they would almost act as the sub under Kipling?
Yeah, right, correct.
Same thing, this is a.
Mayor, I'll
Yes, sir.
mention, planning and zoning was pretty wild about this ID, so.
I'll tell you what, I like, when we first talked about this, to me, the whole sweat equity component, bringing that back, it's something we haven't heard of in a while. There was another builder over by, in Joliet that did a lot of that with homes and was very successful, and I think it's great, especially considering, affordability issues for homes. So if you got a homeowner that's willing to put forth some effort and some work, I think it's a great concept. I mean, I won't deny I'm not a fan of the asphalt driveway component, but, we did it in Fox Bend and, you know, it's worked. So I understand some of those costs, but I think there's some give and take to that. But in regards as a concept, I like the idea behind it.
What's, Fox Bend's, road width? This is 30 feet. Is Fox Bend about the same or a
I
little
think
bit?
Fox Bend might be 28.
Yeah, I think Fox Bend's 28.
Do you remember trustee Chapman?
Yeah, one street,
Yeah,
28.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is, Mr. Noriega, this is 1 foot shy of our standard, right? If it's 30 feet.
Have to
back,
look,
30
but
back,
it
30.
is a little bit, smaller than normal, than typical, than what we've approved in the past.
Yeah,
No, I've got concerns about that, because I think you're opening up a can of worms with everyone doing their own work in that.
Still falls on the builder, though.
I think you're gonna be getting an awful lot of lawsuits, because it just doesn't seem like it's the way to go. It seems like we're trying to reduce, and I know what your point is, trying to get people that can't afford houses to get them, but we're putting developments in that start at $400,000, and it doesn't appear that it would be something that would fit in the program. That's my thoughts.
Where do you think a potential price point even falls on something like this?
Well, we're hoping that we can bring these in for under, without the sweat equity.
Sure.
Under $400,000, somewhere in the, ideally, 375. That would be our goal. You know, so sweat equity, you know, we've done this a lot in years, many years in the past. And it's not a perfect scenario, by no means, but it's by far very successful. When you have people that are capable, an electrician to be able to wire his own house, or a plumber that was able to do his own plumbing, these are the more extreme cases, which, by the way, you know, it gives them that chance to have that equity put down, or if they want to do their own painting and shrubs and things of that nature, so.
But that also doesn't mean somebody's going to do that. It's just an
No, I
option.
understand that, but my point is that it all sounds well and good, but down the road, I can see all kinds of problems happening with it.
Ed, was that
That's
the-
just my opinion.
Yeah, was that the
And
case?
As you say that you're gonna supervise the journeyman, whoever to do the work, most of these people are working. Are you gonna have people, most of the tradesmen that I know do all their side work at night or on the weekends.
Mhm.
So that's not like a normal builder would go in and do the electrical work. I mean, you could probably wire a house in, what, a week.
Sure,
Guy
right.
doing it that's working, probably take him a month to do it. So I just see a lot of problems with it. That, you know, you guys all have your opinion, but I just see there's gonna be a lot of problems with it.
Historically, when you were doing this way back, was that what Mr. Luciano was indicating? Was it a hard thing to manage for you?
Not really, only because it's offered in probably 20% of the buyers take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And when they do, it's mostly paint and flooring, things of that nature. The more the easier things that a homeowner can achieve. You know, so it's, you know, we did in Grand Prairie, we did a lot of this program there, you know.
And I guess what you see with this kind of a product, which is kind of unique and lately, is that it helps get to investing in a home, your first home, and helps with the down payment. Is that what you're seeing when you do this?
Yeah, I think it's a real crisis that, you know, the younger families don't have the down payment and or can't even afford the house because the prices, you know, so. And we have so many more things today than what we had 25 years ago. And everything adds to cost. And so we're just trying to find a way to reduce the cost of the house to begin with by smaller lots and less square footage. But then introducing the sweat equity program, I think, goes a long way.
I'll just add, I like a concrete drive, but that's my preference. That's it.
And I do too, and they're all offered, you know, but, you know, we have just so you know, we have asphalt driveways in the Hunt Club. We have, or I'm sorry, not the Hunt Club, but Kipling Estates.
You had one in.
I'm sorry, I meant Kipling Estates, Fox Bend, all of Del Webb across the street is all asphalt. Now, we're doing asphalt here, but all the approaches are to be concrete. So just so you know.
Also a fan of concrete driveways. I guess my two concerns would be the road width, like if it's narrow, and it's somewhat recency bias, because I came home during party in the park, and like there was 2 cars on every street in town center here, and you could only get 1 car going one way. So to come around turns, it was dangerous, and you had to pull into somebody's driveway to let traffic go. So if you have smaller lots with smaller driveways, you might have more cars park on the street. So it might cause an issue. So you might have to like not have parking on one side of the street, some sort of consideration for that if the roadways need to be that narrow. And then I have the same kind of concerns with the sweat equity. I don't know, maybe better understanding from the village of, I don't know if all the protections are on the builder and the lender, or like at the time period, like what if the guy wants to paint or gal wants to paint and they say the time's up, and then they get in an argument and it sits for 2 months. Like, do we have something to make somebody finish it, or are they allowed to let a house go unfinished for 2 years while they fight through something like that?
I think the sweat equity is so unique that we would have to have our attorneys really work on that language in the annexation agreement to make sure that we're out of that argument.
Do you know of any other communities that are doing sweat equity?
I know a lot of communities have done it. I don't know of any currently going on right now that I could tell you. But to your point, you know, the homes are all owned by Kipling at the beginning. And if the homeowner doesn't fulfill a certain obligation, Kipling will just do that. And if that, or it may be even cancel the entire contract, still finish the home, put it up for sale. So it doesn't delay anything. And it doesn't create a litigation that would delay anything, because all these homes are not sold to the buyers. It's not a closing that takes place until the home is complete. And it is under our supervision, just like our subcontractors are under our supervision. And then to back up our supervision is good old Bob here, the building inspector. So, you know, he inspects all this stuff, and, you know, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? Any support or opposition to the development?
Sounds good.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, it sounds good.
My other concern, and it didn't get brought up here, is the entrance. There's one entrance to this neighborhood.
Correct.
It does not line up to Auburn Chase. So we're gonna have this weird area where you're gonna have an entrance to a subdivision here, and you're gonna have an entrance to a subdivision here. That's probably my biggest concern, because you're gonna have 2 traffic lights, or you're just gonna have a mess that we had here there's gonna be a school in one of the neighborhoods, right? So you're gonna have a lot of stuff going on. That I forgot about that. That's the biggest concern.
One of the issues that they're having there is you have 2 different homeowners that own the other parcels that don't necessarily want to sell.
Yeah.
Don't forget, this was a solar farm that was denied. So having a builder come forward on a parcel that we said was for residential development lets us also show the county that we were honest and we were upfront with them about the residential development coming forward and better use for that land. So, but you're right, unfortunately, that entrance won't necessarily line up.
We can probably look at two different options. One that's kind of shown here is the idea of providing the connection to the west, so that ultimately when that Auburn Chase entrance, adjacent entrance goes in, that's the primary and this becomes a secondary entrance. The other thing is, maybe there's a way to work with that or the developer to partner.
That would be the best case scenario.
Yeah, and mind you, this one's a concept plan.
Yeah,
The road width would have to be vetted through Public Works and side, the side easements that they were looking at would still have to be vetted out, so.
Yeah, I think that one of the really big questions that we need, the sweat equity obviously is something big we need to jump into. Are you generally okay with the idea of an entry-level subdivision with smaller lots than Shorewood would expect, typically?
I'd say yes, I think.
Yes.
Yes, question, if the road dimensions were to need to be changed after the review by Public Works, what would happen to the project? Would it still be viable?
Well, I think the difference that we're talking about is 12 inches. It's a 30, we have a 30-foot road planned, and the ordinance is 31 feet, back to back of curb, is my understanding, correct? Yeah. So to your point, it's not a deal breaker.
Okay.
It's just an ask.
Yeah, we'll shave off a foot for each backyard.
And in the lot widths are very similar, didn't we say the smaller lots are already a product that we have over here in Town Center in the front? Wasn't that the 55-foot wide? So it's not a new product that for lot sizes, but, I think it's good that we're having an opportunity to have some other single-family home developments, and I commend the builder for trying to find a way of creating a just under $400,000 entry-level home, and it's astonishing that's an entry-level home. So.
I have to ask this last one, when would you start on this one if you were to go ahead?
This would also be, this would be probably a mid-year of 27, hopefully even earlier, but it would probably be of 27. So.
Just one comment.
Yeah.
We're always worried about speeding in our subdivisions. A 30-foot road is kind of a natural calming device for traffic. Fact is, on Shorewood Drive, they're intentionally parking on both sides of the street in order to create a one-through deal. A couple of the families got together, and they've cut speeding down amazing up in that area. Okay, so I like it.
All right,
Very good.
thanks.
Thank you very much.
And the last business item for this evening is a consideration for approval or denial of a resolution approving the final plat for Acosta's consolidation plat. Ms. Engel and Trustee Brockman, this is going to be the plat on the frontage road?
This is the plat on the frontage road. It was actually attached to your last packet, but the whole thought is you approved the site plan last meeting. This is just a follow-up with the plat. They're consolidating 2 lots to make it into one, and they're making sure all the easements and everything are there, but nothing new since last one, just following up the approval.
Anybody have any questions on
And there
that?
is a suggestion motion for approval and denial, I believe, on your,
We have to talk to council about that, because that's,
You could do it just to mess with people.
yeah.
I'll make a motion for the approval of a resolution approving a final plat, Acosta's consolidation plat.
Second.
Motion by trustee Selfridge, seconded by trustee Babiak. Roll call, please.
Amos,
Yes.
Babiak,
Yes.
Brockman.
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
Luciano.
Yes.
And Selfridge.
Yes.
All right, business item number 9 is approved. We move into trustee comments. Trustee Amos.
None tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Babiak.
I'll just say quickly, I was at the party in the park, and what an amazing turnout for that, for the first one. And that was exciting to see so many people out there, so good job to everybody involved. That's all.
Thank you. Trustee Brockman.
Thank you, Mayor. Next meeting will be July 1st, too early for an agenda. And can we have an agenda item where we don't ever have a denial or?
I just said, we're gonna talk to council about that, cause that's, yeah. We'll get some clarification if that has to be like that.
Other than that, nothing else.
Yeah, we agree, thank you. Trustee Chapman.
He took my question. I actually respectfully would request a letter from our attorney as to why in 30 years to grant a conditional use permit from this board, that he starts out with approval or denial. I would like that for my files at the house.
Got it.
Yeah, we're gonna get some clarification.
Okay, I want a letter, if I could, respectfully get one.
I think you should send it to the entire board.
Yeah, it'll go to everybody.
Yeah, okay. Well, file it if you want, I will.
I think that what it meant is you pick which one you want.
Sure, but it does create confusion upon the roll call side.
Creates a lot of confusion.
Correct.
And
Yes.
it's never been done, so
Right.
why for this one?
No, I don't understand why either.
Again,
I
you
wanna
know,
know why.
it has to do with other factors too, so we should probably discuss it,
Well-
attorney-client privilege, like,
Yeah.
outside of.
Attorney-client privilege.
Yeah,
Prior communication would
This
have been
is
helpful.
the board agenda.
yes,
This is
yes,
his
but the
agenda.
reasoning behind it.
The reason, she's saying the reason why council phrased it like that. We'll get an explanation for everybody, so they all understand.
Swear me to confidentiality and
I
send
didn't
me
mean
the
for that
letter.
to sound confusing, it's just, it was advice of our attorney and he can send you a memo, that'd be great.
Trustee Luciano?
Citizens Advisory Committee is on break for the summer. We'll be back with meetings in September 24th. That's all I have.
And Trustee Selfridge?
No comment, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. I do need a motion to go into executive session regarding personnel, discuss employment, discipline, and other personnel-related matters.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Babiak, second by trustee Luciano. We'll go to the back room, it shouldn't take long.
CC. 2 minutes.
Are we gonna come back in here?
by trustee Luciano, seconded by trustee Babiak. Roll call, please.
Brockman. Chapman. Luciano. Selfridge.
Yes.
Amos. And Babiak.
Yes.
All right, with that, we are ready to adjourn. I would take a motion.
Chapman.